Yo man, welcome to the video. Wipe off your desk screens, I'm back. Obviously, you know what I'm saying, I would never leave y'all just 9-10 months a year, like who am I, Corey Kenshin? Like, I'm gonna be breaking down this Wheezy sample, part 2, you know what I'm saying, as y'all see in the beginning of the video. The live beat is hard, and so I really like this sample too because I spent a pretty good amount of time on it, crafting it, making it, and I used some techniques that I didn't use a few years ago, so I'm gonna just give y'all some sauce, give y'all some knowledge, how to properly arrange it better, how to add spaces, and how to make your sample sound full with switch ups and layers. So let's get right into it. So I first started off with this vocal, which really kind of carries the sample, but I added my own sauce to it for my boy Zosky.
I don't know if I crossed the line. I don't know if I crossed the line. I don't know if I crossed the line.
That's a really hard vocal, man. He doesn't know if he crossed the line. I don't know either, bro. But I really like this because it added like these chords, you know, in the beginning is just like an intro. And that's what makes it unique. Like, I just kept the whole beginning. I didn't do anything to it. And I just let the second part come in, work my magic. Starters. Like, there's like some people watching this video who don't know what starters are. It's basically just mini ideas and layers of like melodies. Something simple where you can just add your own, flip, implement it into your own samples, stuff like that, reverse it. It's supposed to just be simple ideas. And I just took these vocals and used it to my advantage. I'm like, I'm trying to make a sample, but I want to use something and build off of something. So boom, I used my boy Zosky's vocals. And one thing I really like about these vocals is that the fact they have the chords that go to like the fifth, like the ooh, 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 stuff like that. Allows me to build off of that and add my own chord progression. When I first listened to that, I instantly added these keys. It's just an A going up to a fifth, D minor, and they're really just arpeggiated chords. So really, it would just be like these. Like some Metro Boomin like stuff, like some dark. The reason why I added those is because I was just following the vocal chords since they were going up to a fifth.
I don't know if I crossed the line.
And at the end, it's not fully arpeggiated. I just added a little, just took out something in here just to make some space. And I always do that. I always switch up the patterns just to have a little bit of room. And I rarely use like one shots like these, like keys, but I'm gonna start getting into it more because they can act as like an infrastructure and like a base, something to build off of your samples. And these are from my boy's Drakey's kit. He's a French producer and he's really dope. He gave me his library of like one shots, midis, FLPs, drum loops. So you can DM him for this as a bunch of drums, presets, samples, everything you really need, you know what I'm saying? So I really use one shots, but I wanted to use that as a foundation. Also, when I'm using starters, I kind of like to create my own sample. And so I just take the starter out for a minute and just see what I can work with, what I already have. The main purpose of the starter was for me to build off of it. So even if I took it out, it would still be a full sample without the starter. You know what I'm saying? That's why I use those mini ideas as something to draw inspiration from. So next, I added these textures from my Trigon synth. This is actually the top synth back here, and this is a mixture of the Prophet 6, OB6, and something else. I forgot, but that's what the name Trigon. It's like 3 synths in one. It's also Dave Smith's last synth before he passed away. Rest in peace, Dave Smith. And it's a modernistic synth, has a bunch of harsh sounds, as you can see in the waveform. I had to turn it down a bunch because it has so much distortion in it. I actually half-timed this, and it's really just an ARP texture layer. I really like how it sounds. It has built-in effects, so I added like this delay and I think it's a spring reverb on there, maybe not. But it sounded super futuristic and super weird and synthy. And as you'll see, as I go along this sample breakdown, you're gonna start to see that I like using a bunch of weird stuff that you never thought that you can really use. So that's just simple. Really no like theory behind that. It's just layer a bunch of synth textures to put in the background. And aside from the synth texture, I have my favorite other synth, Analog Lab. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't got the real synth, you got Analog Lab. This is a multi-key that I added as ear candy in a Topline. I like using multi-keys, man. I never really talked about it in a YouTube breakdown before, but multi-keys are something that my boy Keon created, and every time you press a key, it has like some sort of new note that's being played. So when I played that B, there was like this steel pan that came in. And that little stuff, you can notice because it keeps the sounds fresh. It's not a dry sound. And it's a layered sound, basically. It's just a bunch of layered keys. And at the end here, I added this little idea. I wanted to have something like that, like an idea that I heard somewhere in my brain, and I just took it, placed it down, put the velocity down a little bit so it's not really up front. So with that little stuff right there is what you're gonna start to do when you can have like more of creative freedom when making samples. You're gonna start to draw new ideas and inspiration, like maybe I should add a note right here, a note right there. And then lastly, I added this bass that I did this in the first Wheezy sample breakdown. The bass always comes in before the next bar is being played. Like, more French producers, man, June DAP and Guzzy, their pedal board library. And it's just a library full of different pedal chops that they did with their synths, thermes, and a bunch of weird textures and effects that you can add as like ear candy. And I just took this bass rise, and as you can listen to it in the sample, the reason why I put it before the second bar even came in is because like it sounds like it's revving up like an engine. Stuff like that. Stuff like that, I like little stuff because, like I said, it's not really average. It's not the same thing. You're trying out new things, and it really makes a good sample. So that ends the first part, and then I just took out the vocals. And remember how I said about taking out the starter and you'll have your full sample only if you wanted to? Like, this is what I mean by that. So I added like 3 extra new things. First, I added this vocal loop coming on the third beat of the first bar and the second bar. I don't know what to put in y'all European producers' foods, but hey man, you need to keep it up because these kits and these samples, they be making them crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? And don't mind this over here, man. My friend sent me this. Yeah. But this is like this vocal chop. I didn't like how like the beginning, so I was just like, okay, let me just add this. And that's what I mean about like drawing inspiration from other things. Like sometimes you may find something within something that you're just like, I want to take this only and put it in there. Then I added another synth lead from the Trigon. It was a really cool, melodic, little happy, I don't know, there's no really like real theory behind that. It's just a pretty cool top line I added in the background. And lastly, for the whole sample is this blooper repetitive thing I added, and I stretched. That sounds really weird. It sounds like someone or like a robot is trying to process what the frig just happened. This is from the same kit, the Pedal Board Library by June DAP and Guzzy. This is just a texture and effects. They just did that with that blooper, man. So if y'all ever think about getting equipment, I always say get the therme, me personally. But these kits are going crazy, man. Just like how Waves Crate is about to go crazy in a few days too. Black Friday sales are gonna be up. A bunch of new kits, new sauce. Y'all better sauce up, stash up, go crazy on them. It's so easy to make samples nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like back then, people had to really learn the instrumentation, learn the pianos, guitars, really old school vintage stuff, which I'm trying to go back to. Even though I got these resources, you're starting to see me have more music theory language in terms of using beats, what chords they're going on to, like the fifths, the sevenths. I'm starting to just learn that slowly, you know what I'm saying? Like, Mac is starting to learn a little bit of music theory, playing a little songs at the piano, practicing the guitar. I'm only like a few days in, but since I've been making samples for so long, I kind of get a better grasp onto what I'm doing in terms of those instruments, you know? Even though I never really knew, it's about time we start learning. Like I said, man, to keep me going and to keep me getting to a new level, I just remind myself that 8 a.m. in Charlotte by Drake was made by people of this year. It wasn't no vinyl from a sample chop. Like, it was made by, like, sample makers, you know what I'm saying? Like, of this year, you know, like, of this timeline. It's, like, really dope. Like, you can go and emulate the 70s, the 80s, and the 60s if you really knew the theory, if you had the instruments, stuff like that. So I'm just trying to get to that level. Even though I got my own way of making samples, I'm always just trying to find out new stuff to increase my arsenal, new tools to put in my belt. So I'm playing the sample one more time.
I don't know if I crossed the line. I don't know if I crossed the line.
I hope that you can hear the different layers now that I broke it down. And you can start to implement, you know, maybe the tips and tricks that I use, using VSTs, using one-shots, textures, effects, phrases, synths. And like I said, there's just so many tools nowadays to make samples with. Even if you don't have live equipment, there's people out there who will process sounds through live equipment, even though it's not technically the same. You can have that feel with these kits, you know what I'm saying? So that's really the blessing of it, of how far the sample maker industry and the music industry in general has evolved, you know what I'm saying? I never thought that I would see like pedal kits and multi kits and stuff like that. I really come from sample packs and drum kits, and that was it, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy that I can contribute to that as well. And to wrap everything up, I just want to say that you need to have space in your samples. Even though it looks like a lot of layers, I was able to implement many stuff to put in the background and make the sample full, including like the vocals, the analog lab, the synth lead, and textures. I would say instead of having so much stuff up front, try to use little sounds to put in the background and layer. That is probably my biggest tip of 2024. We're going into layering. Layering can really add a lot. Like, especially to make instruments sound real. Layering different pianos and different textures. That comes from, I think Kame1 said that, really legendary sample maker. And when you layer, dude, like, you can get so many sounds out of that, you know? So I would just say use your resources wisely. Don't try to do too much. Keep it simple and add space. You know what I'm saying? That's really all I got for you, man. Short little cook-up sample breakdown. More videos like this are on the way. More vlogs, convos with Mac. I've been feeling a little bit more open about posting whatever I feel like posting, instead of just trying to get the banger video and get the hit video with the views and the subscribers. I'm really just starting to post content full of game and substance. Not everything is going to be a big hit video, you know, and maybe this could be inspiration for someone else out there. You just have to post. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. Like I said, not crazy edited video, something simple, something light, but I'm pretty sure someone out there got some game from this. So if you did, you know what I'm saying? Follow me on the IG. My socials are on below. All my sound kits down below. I appreciate you once again for tuning in. More videos, another one coming this week. Appreciate y'all, boys, man.